All right, are you guys ready for this?
Yeah. That dude in the hairpiece the whole time, that was Bruce Willis. All right, guys, I'm done.
Drop the mic. Leave it on. Anyway, welcome everybody to another episode of Culture Copia. My name is Robert, and with me is Matt, and Casey. We got Greg and Nate. Today's episode, we are going to be discussing the evolution of video games in a one-part episode, and then in the second part episode, we're going to be talking about the adaptation of video games into movies and television. So,
Nice.
Matt, why don't you take it away and get us started?
Let's get right into it. Do you guys know what the first video game was?
Very
first video game.
It wasn't Pong.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Right before Pong.
It was
it
similar.
Pitfall?
It was made in a lab.
It was similar to Pong. If I'm not mistaken, and Rob might be able to look it up. I believe it was a game called Tennis for Two.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tennis for two.
In like the 50s, like we're talking like
There's footage of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's really interesting looking. It's like green and white light.
On looked like a radar screen or something, didn't it?
Yeah, it was what was it, an oscilloscope or whatever they call that?
Oscilloscope.
I believe it was. Yep.
Greg, you knew that?
That word?
Oh no, I thought you meant I thought you knew what, like the whole
The game?
story. Yeah.
No.
You
But I
just-
know what an oscilloscope is.
You just know what words are.
Right.
Sorry, Casey.
Three
They're
syllable one.
The oscilloscope. That's a good place to start with it. They're playing with electricity and visualizing it. They're like, what can we do with this?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we made a game out of it. That's what people do.
absolutely.
Right.
Well, you have to entertain yourself somehow. But I think that paves way for like Pong, right?
Totally.
And like the old Atari. Did you guys ever have any of those games?
I did.
Tetris.
You did. Pong.
Pong and Tank.
What was Tank?
It was like you controlled a tank. Controlled.
And the thunder roll.
You basically you controlled each player. It was a two-player game, and you controlled like this little tank, and you had to like shoot at each other, and you had to like. That was basically it. That's all you did was you just shot like little. You guys ever play?
Was that the one that was
I never
just like
played that.
polygons?
Yeah.
It was like black and white, or not black, but black and green or something. Like, and they're just lines. Like squares.
Really?
Put together,
I never played
like
it.
super.
I never heard of it.
I never heard of it.
rudimentary.
Yeah. It was on Atari.
My neighbor
See, I
had
never
Atari,
had Atari.
so I
So,
played it over there.
is that like, was that also kind of like Asteroids then?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, okay. Because Asteroids is, you're just the spaceship in the middle,
Yeah.
Right.
and then
But
shooting.
it was really slow too. Like you had a joystick. You had the Atari joystick.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Yeah.
It felt kind of crusty because I was playing Nintendo, and then I got to play Atari after that. My neighbors had it, and we were playing Nintendo, then we go play it on his stuff. We play like Super Pitfall, and we play Frogger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frogger was
Yeah.
fun. I used to
Frogger was
love
the shit.
Frogger. That was probably my favorite Atari game right there.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. I've never played an Atari
Really.
ever.
I could see that.
I mean,
I am
it's-
8 years older than you. So.
I've played some of those games, like different versions. Like I've played Frogger. I've played, you know what I mean. But like
Oh, yeah.
never on an Atari. I've never touched an Atari.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, most of those you played at, what were they?
Like at an arcade.
Yeah, an arcade.
Like a cabinet.
Like an
yeah.
actual,
Yeah.
cabinet arcade, yeah. Not like hooked up to your TV.
I gotta tell you, man, that is one thing we should definitely touch on in this episode. Is like arcades are dying.
Oof.
Are there any?
There are.
Yeah, they're still out
They're
there.
called arcade bars.
I was
They're
gonna
like,
say,
let's mix it with liquor
Yeah.
and thumbs up.
I think. Do you think the reason? How do I want to say this? I'm trying to articulate. It's like it's rattling around my brain. I feel like our age group, right here in this room, we're like the last nostalgic generation. Right? I think we've touched on this before. Like everyone, like most of the people that are younger than us just kind of live in what's popular now.
Yeah.
Right.
Once it's not popular, they kind of move past it, and they're like, "What's the new thing? I don't live in the past."
Well, they'll have their nostalgic thing
yeah, they
later.
do.
They're just not old enough yet.
I would
And it-
say.
Oh,
that
dude,
they-
I can tell you right now, like, I still like to jump back and play Oregon Trail.
How? I mean, you're right, Greg, but there's still this like, okay, we grew up, all of us, watching movies and TV shows and playing games that were older than us.
Yeah.
Yep.
from the
Yeah.
past. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right,
Like,
right.
like, that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, I got you.
No.
Like, the newer generations are just moving forward.
Yeah.
The games
And-
are just evolving.
And the reason, well, that too. But the reason I bring this up is because, like, do you think, like, the arcade bars, Nate, that you were talking about, is that, like, like, their last-ditch effort of, like, this is how we're going to make money, we're going to play on the nostalgia of, like, this last generation who actually, because
Yeah.
nobody moving forward, none of the younger generations are going to go to just a regular arcade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not profitable anymore, so it's like, fuck it. The last kids that grew up going to arcades are adults now. How are we going to get them back in an arcade? Because they're the only ones that are going to do it.
And so we experienced an arcade firsthand. We get to go to it in somewhat of its prime. I mean, maybe they're on the decline a little bit, but we
Yeah.
went to like legit arcades.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we had played Ninja Turtles and, Tetris and all sorts
Yeah.
of fun games.
Yeah.
And
That
you put your
TMNT
quarters
game.
up, you put your tokens in.
Yeah.
We experienced it firsthand.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if somebody born in maybe 2000, they never really get to go in some of these, like, classic arcades. So while
Yeah.
they can see it on YouTube and play some of these old retro games, they never got, boots on the ground in front of an arcade cabinet to really feel what that's like.
Absolutely.
So they can't be like as nostalgic for it. We get to experience it. And so when you open up an arcade bar, you're tapping into something in my mind where it's like, hey, Nate, you remember playing video games? Wasn't that fun? Yeah. You like drinking? Yeah. Come on down. And then the games are basically free at a lot of these places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make their money on the liquor. I actually kind of like that model, but that's what I see for arcades right now. I don't see a lot of classic arcades anywhere. And I think it's
Right.
because it's not profitable, because of what you're mentioning. People just don't have the demand for it because they figure, why not play it at home?
Yeah, because, like, the mid-'90s and stuff like that, heck, those arcades, like...
Tilt.
Tilt.
Yeah.
You have Tilt in the Midwest. That's excellent.
We had Tilt.
But we
We
also...
got Tilt on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But, it was, like, the same kind of vibe as, like, what they had back in the 70s when arcades were fucking booming.
Yeah.
And they don't have that now for kids. Like, and it's
They
so
still got 'em
hard
in
to grab
bowling
these
alleys?
kids' interest in these so low-tech
So
games.
that might be a solution. You'd have to high tech the arcade. You
Right.
got to do it
Yeah.
arcade V2. I got some fun ideas for that, but
Yeah, we'll get to that. What was your question, Greg?
They still got them in bowling alleys. Like
Some.
little, I know there was one
Kind of.
in
but-
like Valley Park. That big, was it Brunswick
yeah.
Lanes?
Yeah.
Like they had a whole room
Okay, yeah. So, but
with
even,
arcades.
So
Like
even-
that's where I never really went to an arcade,
Right.
but it was always a spot like that, like at bowling alleys.
Because I remember, what was the mall that got demolished out off Watson?
Crestwood.
Crestwood. They had a legit arcade
They had a
room.
Tilt there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
the
remember
style-
Aladdin's Castle, right? That was
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
cool.
we had that too.
a mall.
We spent a lot of time at that one.
Yeah.
You know, the style of the games I see. So you can go to Dave and Buster's. Of course, they've got an arcade too. But a lot of these places, they've changed the style of games that they make.
That's what I was
it's
gonna
not
say.
about
Yeah.
like putting in a quarter and having skill. It's more like your game's gonna last 2 minutes no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
a flash
The
in
race
pan, which
car
I'm
games
not
and
a
stuff like
huge
that.
fan of that. I
Yeah.
actually like the old school games where it's actually a challenge, and if you're good, you can play for a little bit.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so that's the second thing. The flavor of the people manufacturing the games they're more about like the fast transactions.
Yeah, like the older Ninja Turtle game and like
Right.
the Simpson one where you
Yeah.
get
It was
the
rad.
level.
It was rad.
Oh, it was great, and you could just go to and you just kept
keep
going
going,
and going, and
as
then
long as you stayed
and then you could
alive, or-
play that for 30 minutes, and then there's like that last boss, and then you beat the game, and then you had like a high score, and it was based on how fast it took you to beat that level.
That satisfaction that came
Yeah.
from that was nice. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I did well today. Now it's like, it's over.
Well, and
Yeah.
I get some tickets.
Nate's right too. So like Greg, like you're asking. So like any arcades that do still exist, like let's say there are arcades in bowling alleys, which there still are, they are there, but the games have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like going to a Chuck E. Cheese or a Dave and Buster's or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it was 20 years ago.
Hell no.
Yeah. You go to a
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese, there's not one of the older game consoles.
No.
Yeah, I remember some. So by contrast, like when the peak of my arcade experiences, we'd be playing games that you could play for a while. Like take Street Fighter for example.
Shit. Yeah.
Shit,
Man,
yeah.
that was so fun. It was like a cultural thing where you'd go to the tilt and there'd be like 2 or 3 arcade cabinets with Street Fighter or another flavor of it, and there'd be like 5 or 10, 15 people hanging out by the cabinet just
Right.
waiting to play, watching everybody.
Yeah.
And you have to take your quarter and put your quarter up, and you be in like a queue and you watch and you wait and then like your turn comes up and everyone's watching you if you can beat the person who's whooping everyone's ass who's been playing for half an hour because they're just so good they just keep playing for free. And that was such a hype experience. People really got into it. And so that's kind of what I miss about arcades is that it was also like a social experience too. People got excited with their friends, not just like at home.
You remember that Adam Sandler movie that came out where they're having to play the old games?
Yeah. What was that called? Game Over or something?
No, not Game Over.
Not Game Over, man. That's not.
It was literally
was it
the old
Pixels?
arcade.
Pixels.
Yeah, Pixels.
That's it.
That's it. Every time I think of those older games, I literally think of that movie.
Yeah.
Because it was literally the older arcades from like the 70s and shit. It was all of them.
Pac-Man and
Centipede,
Tetris,
DK,
yeah.
stuff.
The other thing with had its own language.
What?
It was like that little round guy that had like a fucking snout.
Qbert.
Yeah, Qbert.
Qbert.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, those games they were so classic. And I mean, Tetris continues on. The guy who made Tetris, I saw a random TikTok video. He's stupid rich right now. He's built a compound and stuff. But that game continues.
A kid beat it.
Original
I was gonna
Mario.
say,
They just
didn't
keep
we-
making
didn't we
evolutions
just talk
of it.
about this?
Yes, they keep just evolving it.
Did we?
Yeah.
I think we talked about this recently. Didn't this just happen like last year?
It was like last year or the year before that kid beat it.
Yeah, like somebody finally got to like, and
He like glitched it out.
it's like the glitch screen.
The
is what
memory
it
runs
is.
out.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Be able to beat Tetris.
Right.
It was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
Yeah.
And it was
Did
like
you
a-
see the
it
way
was
that
like
they
a
were doing with
14
their
or,
finger?
It was like a 14 or 15-year-old kid or something too, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't that old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Makes sense, man. That kid probably has
it
no
was
hobby.
insane.
That's all you do is play Tetris 24/7. You guys ever seen the speed runs they do on Twitch, where people are playing vintage video games and they'll do speed runs?
Yeah.
There's a thing called Games Done Quick, and it's a fundraiser. They give the money to charitable donations, and they stream people playing usually classic games and modern games too.
Yeah.
But that's when you see some of these retro games come back, and these kids are like phenomenal at them.
Yeah.
It's like all they do is play that.
I remember there was it was a trivia game, and there was a legit pattern and this guy was able to figure out the pattern after like the first 5 questions, and then after the first 5 questions, he would know all the answers from there on out.
Are
Oh,
you
damn.
talking about
I wanna
a
say I've
video
heard
the
game?
algorithm.
A video game. It was like
Whoa.
I thought you were talking about. So they just made a movie about this. I thought you were talking about there was a guy. You remember the game show Press Your Luck
Yeah.
with the whammies? Like it was the board, and you had to
Whammies.
like hit it at the right time. Some
Whammy,
guy
whammy,
figured out that
whammy,
pattern,
Yeah.
went on there and hit it every
Oh,
time,
damn.
and like, dude, like, and this was like back in like the late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And he was up to like $50-something thousand, which back then was a lot. They were like, the studio was like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah.
That's kind of the same thing with the Price is Right guy.
Yeah.
But the thing is like the guy, like one of the guys like was talking about like that trivia game. He's like, there are over 30,000 patterns, and he figured them out. He figured out the pattern
It's like
out
a
of 30,000 different just by knowing the order of the first 5 questions.
The speedrunners do that too.
It's
They'll
like,
start
holy
the game,
shit!
and they'll
how
look
much
for,
time
like,
do you got to
certain-
play that shit?
They'll look for certain things to pop up. Like if a cherry pops up in level 1, they're like, it's pattern A, and they'll try
Yeah.
to run that pattern.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Imagine. Have you guys seen any videos of that guy that went on Press Your Luck?
I think I have.
I
Well,
want to
it's
say I
funny
have.
because he'll hit the button and immediately start clapping because he knows he got it. It was so funny, like to watch the video because he'd just be like, "Boom, yeah!" Like before he even like anyone else had time to react because he just knew he was like, "I got it."
Right, right.
But
that's fun.
I mean, so like I don't go on Twitch, but I've seen videos like on YouTube and stuff like some of the speed runs, like the old Mario.
The Mario ones
the
are
Mario
pretty crazy.
speedruns are
Yeah.
well because they have like those where you can warp to different worlds, like so like on like level 2 you hit the block, you go up,
Up
you can
and over.
run,
Yeah.
and then you could like you have the warp tunnels, and it's like, dude, those speedruns are crazy. Like people like beat the whole game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, there's that one level with like all the flame, the rotating flames, and like the guy figured out every single pattern to go back and forth between the flames to get to the end. It's like, holy
Well,
fuck!
now they've even like they've gotten into where they've like create their own
Yeah,
courses.
they mod it.
and they mod it, and it's like they like doing.
It's like just
fucking-
all of those fireball.
Those
chain-
mods are
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
and
about. The fire chains.
You have to like be exactly
Yeah.
precise where
Yeah,
you
but
jump.
they're talking about the mods where like people like there's these like Mario mods and there's tons of them, dude. Where it's like insane. It's almost impossible to do.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Like you.
So it's not the original. It's not the
No.
original. They've
No.
gone in and made their own.
It's
like,
literally
yeah.
like
Exactly.
it's so hard. It's insane. Like
Yeah.
you
Maybe that's what I was watching with the fire wheels. Maybe it was like a mod.
Well, I think
I said
that's
something
like
like,
the
is there
last
an actual-
castle is like a bunch of those.
Yeah.
No.
I saw a quote. It was like,
And, like-
"This is why my generation has PTSD," and it showed Mario like jumping
Right.
through the.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
like-
that's what I was
it's
talking
like,
about. It's an
oh
Instagram.
my
and I
God.
saw that and I was like, God
Dude.
damn.
I was playing a level of Starfield earlier today or last night,
Yeah.
and it was so fucking stressful.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
just like, I was like, finally when I got it done, I was like, okay, sense of relief, you know?
Yeah.
yeah. So I totally.
Because I remember Sega in playing.
Sega?
There was the Lion King game on Sega. And
Yep.
there was like one part of that level, like as a kid, I could not.
Don't they
fucking
say
get
that's like the
past.
hardest game?
It was pretty difficult.
It was difficult for a fucking child to do.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because do
The
you
Jurassic
guys
Park one was hard.
do you guys remember your first game console?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Nintendo.
It was a Sega.
Nintendo.
Sega Genesis.
Yeah, I think so.
Mine was the Sega Genesis. What'd you have?
We had a Nintendo,
Nintendo,
NES.
NES.
Yeah, I got it
Yeah.
for Christmas. I got an NES.
NES.
Yeah.
NES.
Well, but we got like the NES with like the entertainment center, so it had like
Oh.
a stand, and you had like a place for
Right.
your
Look at
remote.
this rich motherfucker.
We had the
Oh,
power
shit.
pad.
No, we really weren't. We really weren't.
Did
but
you
Yeah.
did you have Rob the
How many
robot,
TVs
too?
were in your house?
just one TV. Yeah, no. We had it for a long
Yeah,
time.
he still couldn't play
Um,
it if Days of Our Lives was on.
Honestly, though, my mom and dad got it. My mom got it for us, but she played the shit out of Zelda.
Really?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good one.
She was really good at Zelda.
Zelda wasn't
Yeah.
a thing on Sega Genesis.
And then my dad got Rad Racer.
Rad Racer, yes.
And we, we would always have, we'd always crash, and we'd,
Yeah.
Dad, help us, and he'd like help us get through a certain part. And
You know what? That's a good question too. So like you brought that. Did your parents play video?
Well, yeah, my mom's way into video games.
Yeah?
Yeah, she used to play it at the bars and stuff, and she
Yeah.
was into Pac-Man. She also played because we had crossover interest there with video games and stuff. We ended up playing like online games together for a few years, and so she was into
Okay.
like EverQuest, and she was
Yeah.
into something called MUDs, multi-user dungeon. You go in, it's a text-based adventure. You'd connect to a server on the internet, and you'd play, and you'd like type to other people.
Right.
That's one of the most addictive games I've ever played. Like those games are so awesome,
Yeah.
but they're like retired at this point.
Sure.
But yeah, she'd play. How about you guys?
Yeah.
You said no.
Yeah.
My parents really didn't play video games either. That was just more of like a kid thing. I don't
When
know.
when we
my
got
mom-
a Wii, Mom would play, like
Wii
if we had a
Sports?
party or
like
something.
Wii, like
yeah.
Wii bowling.
He's like, oh, this is fine. And I think that's the
I
most
could-
I've ever seen.
I could see your mom playing Wii bowling, dude.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could see her actually like kind of being savage on it too, like quickly, like you wouldn't think, and then all of a sudden, like, God damn,
You know
dude,
what's
she's
funny is
kicking
over
ass.
Memorial
Like-
Day weekend, Mom and Dad played bags. I
Really?
thought that was the craziest thing.
That's
Like,
funny.
Look at them having fun.
I could see your mom be like, remember Joe Coy?
Yeah.
We played it Wii tennis with his slice.
Slice.
My
What the
mom's a
fuck
shit
is that?
talker, man.
Yeah.
Joseph slice.
Yeah, no, my mom literally bought me games just so she would buy me a game and then be like, all right, you're going to play it so I can just leave. Like
This is your
she would
babysitter.
literally put
Yeah.
me in front of a TV to play a game because
she
she
didn't-
knows she could go to the bar, she could go to the store, she could go and do shit and I wouldn't leave that fucking spot.
Yep.
She comes back hours later, right where I left him.
Yep.
I left him.
He probably didn't go take a piss either. I bet his fucking shit is wet as shit.
I remember having my friends stay over. Like, we'd be chilling. It'd be,
Oh, yeah.
10 o'clock. We're going to go to sleep or some shit. And you just hear, like, typing going on as my mom's, like, playing on the computer
Yeah.
games in the back. She'd have one of the old clacky keyboards.
Yeah.
And she'd smoke cigarettes and, like, drink tea. And she'd be up till 12 o'clock playing this game. Wake up the next day, play a little bit more. And then I was like, how did it go? Which was exciting because we didn't have like, you're a kid and your mom, you only got certain things in common. But now you got this game you can talk about. You're like, yeah, what happened last night with those paladins? What the fuck are they getting into? Oh, you won't believe the shit they caused. They were like talking shit in the morning. Like, it was very fun rapport there. So games were like a good way for, just a lot of people to relate to.
One time, my mom was dating this guy who literally liked playing video games. And he would come over and we would play video games together. It would piss my mom the fuck off because she wanted to be and hang out with him. And she's like, oh, they're dating. And he's in my room and we're fucking just playing video games the whole fucking day.
You know what? That should have been good though. It should have been a good sign.
It could have been, but she's not getting the fucking time that she wanted.
She's not getting the dick. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what it was?
Basically. Shit.
Why is he in there playing games?
Damn, look at that. They're playing fucking Madden.
Do you guys remember ever playing Duck Hunt?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
See, when we got the
And when
NES,
fucking
that
dog
was
laughed at you, it was like,
we had the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt,
yeah, the combo.
and then it had
what was
it
the
had
other
an Olympic one. It was like because we had the Power Pad,
Okay.
and it was the third one with that was like an Olympic game.
Because
You were turtle or cheetah, and you'd run and do hurdles and stuff like that.
And that was
before
that was
Dance
with
Dance
the
Revolution.
gun? That wasn't with the gun.
It came with the
gun was
gun because
Duck Hunt.
it had Duck Hunt.
But
There
was
was
Duck
like a
Hunt the
power
only one
pack.
that gun went with?
No, there was other games.
There was a
in
couple
it.
more.
Yeah.
Hogan's Alley was one of them.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt. And so Duck Hunt was one of the first games I ever got. I actually didn't get Mario, but I did get Duck Hunt when I was in Florida. And I remember playing it in my grandma's living room. And I'm playing and I'm shooting the stuff. And my grandma's just getting progressively more pissed off because I'm not paying attention to her or something like this. I didn't understand why grandma was mad. So I'm playing and my dad comes in. He's like, what's up? I'm like, I think grandma's mad at me. He looks around. He's like, don't worry. Grandma's just jealous. And I'm like, oh, okay. About 5 minutes goes by. Grandma comes in, arms crossed and shit, staring at me. My dad's like watching me play. I'm like, Grandma, my dad says you're just jealous. And my grandma just glares at him like, is that so? My dad's like, fuck. Good job, Nate. Good job. And my grandpa was actually pretty good at it, too, because he was in, I just assumed because he was in World War II, he was, like, good with guns.
You would think.
You would think. He was a paratrooper. He went to Europe. He jumped out of planes and shit. Like, so I said, Grandpa, play this game for me. Like, you'd be good at this. And he actually was. He was fucking shit up in Duck Hunt. But he's like, what's the point of this? He's like, I don't get this. I'm like, just keep going, Grandpa. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I played some Duck Hunt.
Gave him some fucking PST.
I think
Nazis. Shooting them.
That Duck's got a stash.
So, real quick, I gotta bring this up because we're talking about like Duck Hunt and all these other games.
Yeah.
Did you know that Goonies had a sequel?
Video game wise?
No, it was the Goonies. It was Goonies 2. Was the game? Do you guys remember Goonies 2
No.
Yes.
on
Actually,
Nintendo?
Video game?
No.
Goonies 2 was hard as fuck.
It was hard as balls.
So
You had like a yo-yo. You had like it was like a little like platform, right? Wouldn't you say?
It reminded me of the Friday the 13th game. It's kind of like a side scroller. You can play different characters. You can play as Mouth, I think.
And
The
every
yo-yo.
once in a while, you'd
You can
run
play as
into
Data.
Fratellis.
Yep.
And
Interesting. I didn't even know they had a game.
I just wanted to bring, yeah. So they,
So I didn't play
It's
a
called
lot
Goonies
of Nintendo. Like my cousin had a Nintendo who lived on the same street as me, so like I would play over at his house sometimes. But like I said, my first game console was Sega Genesis, so most of my early game memories are gonna be those like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of.
See, my
side
cousin
scrollers.
had the
Sonic
Sega,
was
Is
so
that what,
awesome.
2D?
so I'd be over there. That's what we would play.
Those were 2D?
Wasn't-
Yeah.
And Echo the Dolphin.
Sonic, wasn't that like 16-bit, Nate?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
16-bit system with a good
Oh my
sound,
god,
too.
it was like
The sound of the
game.
rings picking them up. Clink,
Yeah.
clink, clink, clink.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so fun. It was so fast.
Right.
Sonic blew me away.
And a lot of those Disney side scrollers, like you were talking about, the Lion King game,
Yeah.
the Aladdin game, Toy Story
Like
game.
2Ds, yeah.
Aladdin was
Yeah,
fun.
I tell you what, the
Do you
Toy
re-
Story game, there were some difficult levels on that as
Yeah.
a kid. Like, there was some like, you're Woody, and you got like you'd use his like pull string as like a lasso, and you got like swing off these hooks, and
Like-
like you had to get the timing just right.
Nothing made me happier because one of my favorite cartoons back in the day was Gargoyles, and they came out with the
Yeah.
Gargoyles game for
Oh,
Sega.
no shit.
Dude, I
didn't know
remember
that.
playing the fuck out of that.
I think
That was a dope show.
Oh, dude, the show
yeah.
was so great. And then of course you get to play Goliath in the fucking game. You're like, oh,
Right.
this
Yeah.
is dope.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it makes sense that the three of them, Greg, Nate, and Rob, their first console was Nintendo, and we had Sega Genesis, just because they're just a little older than us.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, 'cause
that
Sega
that's kinda
came
was
out.
our
Yeah, because I
thing,
went
yeah.
from literally a Sega to a PlayStation.
So my
Yeah.
uncle
What about
got
the,
a Sega. So
I went from
got
NES
play
to
on that. So
PlayStation.
I had a Nintendo at home, but he had a Sega. So when we went over to his house, he had like Ghostbusters on it.
Oh, yeah.
Ghostbusters on the
Yeah.
on the Sega or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to play both
Nice.
a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
I played,
I think everybody kind of grew up having
Yeah.
that like the opportunity to play both, but it was like, what was your main thing you had at the house?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Oh
did
yeah,
we,
because
did
my
we-
buddy had a Nintendo 64.
That's what I was
And
about
I
to
would-
say.
My cousin
dude.
had-
I had to go
Oh
to
my
his house
God.
and play. Like we get out of school, I'd be like, hey, I don't care what you guys are doing. Let me come in your house and play.
that was my
Golden
first.
Eye.
for that, man.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
got
great
one of
console.
those after my Sega Genesis. That was my first Nintendo console, and I mean, is it just the nostalgia, or can we agree that was like probably the best fucking console
Oh, dude.
64?
in
Oh
64?
my god. Hype wise, I was so
I mean,
excited.
that
Dude.
was,
What was
It was-
what was the
it was
Mario?
amazing.
There was that Mario
Amazing.
game with like the paintings and stuff, and you going into the paintings.
Mario 64.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it man,
Yeah.
Mario 64?
I was
Yeah.
literally playing that yesterday. So, little context. I actually do have an N64 still with Mario, but they remade it for Switch, and so I'm playing the remade version of it
Yeah,
with
they
my
did.
wife.
Yeah.
My wife's actually like phenomenal at Mario. When she was a kid, that's what she got first was N64, like early on, and they got Mario. So her and her brother Greg used to play that all the time. So now
Not me.
we're running
There
that
was
back
that
for fun. And
There
it
was that
holds up.
Godzilla fighting game.
Dude, I don't know. It just keeps being weird. Anyway.
What's
What
Yeah.
are you talking
Mario Kart
Godzilla.
64.
Friendships
What-
were won and lost on that game.
One of the greatest racing games ever made. And, Greg, we were just talking about one of the most underrated racing games ever made was Diddy Kong Racing.
oh, right,
Oh,
right.
That's a good one.
Diddy Kong Racing was the shit. It was basically Mario Kart 64, but you also had the option for airplanes and hovercrafts.
Yeah, I didn't play
Yeah.
a whole lot of those.
Dude,
Those-
that
I
was
got-
the
I got in
shit.
trouble
I
playing
got-
Mario, man.
I was
Mario
obsessed
Kart.
with what was
Jesus,
the
dude.
was on
The
PlayStation.
language alone.
There was the
Swearing that would come out.
Crash Bandicoot
Yeah.
racing one.
Yeah.
That was the one I played.
So Crash Bandicoot was a character in Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh,
So that's probably the one you played.
What? No,
Um,
Crash Bandicoot was his own
it's
thing.
invented later.
Oh, not Crash. You know what I was thinking of? Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
never mind.
Okay, it's easy to get those two confused.
Never
Yeah.
mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, Crash Bandicoot. That was more of a PlayStation. Thing,
That was
right?
PlayStation.
Yeah,
that was,
PlayStation,
but that was
right?
like because like with the Nintendo 64 because I didn't have one. Whenever I went over to my buddies who had one, like, dude, we were playing more fighting games than we were playing racing games
on PlayStation.
on Nintendo 64.
Oh, in
because I didn't have a
Killer
64.
Instinct.
Gotcha. You guys remember
Yeah, Killer
Clay
Instinct.
Fighter?
Yeah, Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter
great
is
one.
63 and a third.
I used to play the Snowman. That guy
Yeah.
was cool.
Dude,
Clay-
That's a great
cool.
game.
I see what you did there.
There we go. That was a classic. I love they had some good fighters. That was
Yeah.
a good one. And
Yeah.
the graphics were cool too
Yeah.
at the time.
That was one like that's kind of an obscure game, but like if you brought that up in normal conversation, everybody might not
How
know what
about-
you're talking about.
How about
but
this game? Primal Rage.
Primal Rage?
That
It was
also
an
a good one.
arcade game,
Yeah.
and I got it on the Game Boy. When I got the
Yeah.
Game Boy, I'm like, I get Primal Rage. Like,
Dude,
that
we
game
haven't
was-
even
I think I used
discussed
to play a
handhelds
Raptor
yet.
in that game.
right.
What was the
There's a lot we
Zelda
have-
game on 64?
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
Ocarina of Time. Yeah, that was
Those were
great.
excellent too.
that was a great game. I didn't get to play it a whole lot because I didn't have the 64.
Yeah.
What system was the it was like more childish looking Wind Waker, I think it was.
Yeah. That was for GameCube.
Was that GameCube?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe.
Because Link was like really like a small
Matt
little
was here, he
kid
could
and he
tell
was
you.
clay.
I didn't play a lot of Zelda,
I didn't
to be
either.
honest.
Played it on the NES. That one,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
the OG one.
Yeah.
I played like
And
most
that
of
one-
them.
That one just
Most
seemed
of them.
so massive too.
I fell off
Yeah.
around GameCube though. I
Then-
never owned
Yeah.
GameCube. So,
GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo played the Zeldas. Super Nintendo, also a great system. And then N64, I had that one, so I played those. But then that was it. I didn't get consoles for a while after N64.
What's the timetable
So
of the
PlayStation.
systems? Because
Yeah, did 64 come out before
about it.
PlayStation?
Before, yes.
Yeah,
it
that was
did.
okay.
So Nintendo came out before Sega.
PlayStation, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Nate probably knows, but the PlayStation was the first console to use discs.
Discs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
instead
Yeah.
of cartridges. Yeah.
Well, no, they had Sega CD.
Oh, wait a minute. Sega CD, I forgot about that one.
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
Yeah, that one, it didn't. I don't think that one caught on.
Was that so? That's like the laser disc of the
I think
Right,
gaming
right.
world?
No, I think it was a peripheral or whatever. It was an
add-on.
to
Okay.
the existing system.
Okay.
Oh.
So they were working on it. They were like getting there.
Remember Sega Saturn?
I do remember
Yeah,
Sega
yeah.
Saturn. I had one.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not.
I didn't have one.
I
but
played that
remember it.
for a minute, like Toy Story. Bonk's Adventure. I'd
Was
play
that their
on one. Actually,
PlayStation?
that was Neo Geo, sorry.
I think
So
it
that
was.
Sega's version of the
I think it
PlayStation.
was.
What was your? You said so N64, and then there was kind of like a. What was your next console after that?
After N64?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get something for a while. Then eventually I got a PlayStation.
I got a
One?
Mine was.
PlayStation 1. Yeah.
I had.
That's why I got my first job, actually.
4, and I was kind of like that too. Like that was what I had for a while. It was that and my Sega Genesis, and I didn't get anything until PS2.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh wow.
Was my next consoles. I ended up getting a PS1 like later just to like play some of those old games. Like I got like a real good deal on it
Right.
because it was like used and shit.
Oh.
And I got some old games and it was all pretty cheap. And I played it a little bit, but at that point I had already played it was kind of like you were talking about. What were you talking about? Playing something and then going back? Oh, you're playing like Nintendo and then going back to like Atari.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. It was like I've been playing my PS2 this whole time, and then I got a PS1, and I'm like, oh, all right, okay.
I
It is
ended
what
up,
it is.
So I got addicted to role-playing games, like RPG games early on. The system had a game called Final Fantasy. I used to love playing that game. So by the time PlayStation came out, Final Fantasy VII was going to come out.
Okay.
Right, that was
Yeah.
that was huge.
I had
too.
to have it.
Yeah.
There was no way I couldn't have it. I was 15, but I had to have it. My parents were like, "Well, Christmas is like months and months away. I'm making allowance, and this allowance is not stacking fast enough, so I got to go get me a jobby job." So my friend Colin, he's 16, and he's got a job washing dishes in an Italian restaurant.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
15. He's like, I can get you in. So that's
Yeah.
how I ended up getting my first job is working this Italian restaurant to make just enough money to buy a PlayStation, 2 controllers, a memory card, and Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII.
memory
And I
cards.
grinded that shit out. I have never been so dirty and disgusting in my whole life working in an Italian kitchen, man. You ever clean a grease trap?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first experience for me.
I've cleaned
I was like,
many a grease trap.
Think of the Final Fantasy. Think
Yeah,
of the video
right,
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, isn't Final Fantasy, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little here too, but I never played Final Fantasy, but isn't Kingdom Hearts like a cross between that and like Disney?
Yes. Yep.
So it's like the
right.
Final Fantasy world and characters and stuff, but then it's like integrated with Disney. And
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I never really played. I played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts because I had a friend that was really into it for a while, so like I kind of like dabbled. It's like I'll play.
Yeah,
because
because I think like the beginning of what was the Disney one?
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts is like the island of Final Fantasy X.
Is it?
There's
I
clouds in
don't
that
know.
game.
Yeah.
There's a couple crossovers too.
Yeah.
I haven't played the whole game. I played a bit of that one, so I'm not totally up on what happens in Kingdom Hearts. But
One thing I'm
it was like a
realizing.
Square Disney crossover.
Yeah. I'm kind of realizing right now that we're talking about all these games, like there's always been a separation of Disney and Nintendo. Because we're talking about like those Disney side scrollers, those were all on Sega Genesis, and then moving forward you had like wasn't Kingdom Hearts like a PlayStation
It was
game?
PlayStation.
Yeah.
Who made Rescue Rangers? Was that Disney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's like a couple Nintendo games that are Disney, but
Really?
not like a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking of a few, like DuckTales was awesome. That was on Nintendo. And then Rescue Rangers was fun. So they had a few, but it wasn't like as massive as
Yeah.
Aladdin and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I didn't know about those, but
I
yeah,
didn't either.
there's like some kind of doesn't it seem like there's like a separation there? Like,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that licensing or
Yeah.
what the deal was.
I mean,
but
they're
by
both
the time
like
Sega came out, they worked something out.
they're both mega brands, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
especially now, and they're still, I mean, separate. The whole like Nintendo World thing, that's a Universal. And,
I don't think there's
Yeah.
any Disney games that are like Atari games. I don't think Disney made anything for
probably
Atari,
not.
right?
No.
Yeah, I don't
No.
think so. So would they start with like NES?
Maybe they saw what
And then-
happened to like E.T. and they said, "No way, we don't want to
Right.
get associated with this video game shit."
I never played
Yeah.
that, but I heard.
Oh God,
I heard.
Buried
I
out
played
in
a
the
little bit of
desert.
that.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. I just didn't know what was happening as a
Yeah.
kid. I was like, I don't get this
Uh,
at all. And then I saw the videos. You guys probably seen the videos, right?
Yeah.
Of, like the story.
Oh,
Nolan
yeah,
Bushnell
yeah.
makes the worst game in the world.
I've seen some stuff about it, but I had no idea.
Rumor has it they're buried out in the middle of a desert
That's what
somewhere.
Greg
in a
just
hole.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Kind of going back to like the arcade like cabinets and stuff. I want to point this out because I think we talked about this before, but like if you're in the St. Louis area or visiting the St. Louis area and you go to the St. Louis Science Center, there's a certain game in the game exhibit, right?
Yeah, Rob might know about that game.
Yeah.
Rob might have worked on that game.
I might have.
Yeah.
I might have at one time.
You had a
my
hand in
life.
that too, didn't you?
Oh, major
Yeah.
hand. in
We
it.
we got a picture. I think Rob has the picture somewhere, right? There was actually like a video like showing like interviews with like people and like
Nate's up
this
there.
handsome guy's right
Yeah.
up there on that
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
I saw it. I was like, look at him.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
I think didn't we get a picture of him standing like under the screen?
I
Like,
think
we
it's
did.
like Nate and Nate.
He got like a 6-year residency there or something like this.
Yeah.
Well, I got involved because they wanted to do that game exploration exhibit. Before
Yeah.
that started, the game developer group in St. Louis wanted to do like a video game cabinet
Yeah.
thing. And so the whole shtick was we're going to build an arcade cabinet, and then we're all going to make games, and then we're going to load it in the cabinet, and then the Science Center is going to host it.
Yeah.
That's how the whole thing started. So we did a
That's
game
cool.
jam. Me, Rob, and a couple other people got together. We made a game called Frog Bug.
Yeah.
And
His name's Frogbug. It's from Grandma's Boys, wasn't it?
yes, totally.
Yeah.
Grandma's Boy reference.
Yeah.
And so I volunteered to like put the cabinet and stuff together. So it was on me to like because there's a computer in there. So
Yeah.
make the computer, put the games on it, build all that. And then once we got the cabinet in there, the kids broke it like immediately as far as the software went.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, this works pretty good. And then, 1,000 kids come through and they find the bugs. So I had to like work and like fix the software, but eventually we locked it down. So that's what's there now is you can go
Yeah.
through and play different games.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, so if you're ever there, look up Frogbug at the
Yeah.
St. Louis Science Center. I was really proud of it. That was a
Me
really
too.
cool, fun game.
I
to-
mean, you guys should be.
to
You know,
do.
you got something that you did, and it's
Yeah.
on display.
it
somewhere.
was
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
It's got thousands of plays, Rob.
Does it really?
Thousands.
Now
That's crazy.
I'm jumping way ahead from where we left off, but didn't you two also work on some VR stuff together?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
did VR stuff for
Yeah.
a long time.
Long time.
Like 6 years.
Yeah, 5-6 years. Yeah.
Now, do we think? I think didn't we kind of mention? Maybe Nate, you mentioned this, like future of arcades. Could we bring it back? What would it look like? Is it going to be like more VR stuff? Maybe.
My thought of it is like more interaction. So
Okay.
like we're at a point now where I take the cabinet that we constructed for this event.
Yeah.
We could construct several of those cabinets, and those cabinets could all play different games.
Right.
So it's possible to say like, all right, we've got a variety of new games that people can play, and we can adapt them with the same cabinet without having to get new cabinets. But then the second part is you could add like a bonus aspect to it. So you could say, all these cabinets for the next half hour are going to play Tetris. And they're all on
Okay.
free play, and everybody plays, and we're going to take the high score of everybody, and you get free drinks. And then you put their name up in the sauce. a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay.
So you
Nice.
create like these rolling contests with it. And so I think if you gamify the arcade a little more, you could probably bring some people back and bring the booze. Because I
Yeah.
think the arcade bar is really tapping into a good format.
Yeah.
So it really is. I mean, that's kind of like that's it. Does it die with us?
I don't think so. But it will take us to bring it back. Like I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
see like
Okay.
anyone outside of our generation doing this.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
and they're-
have to.
They've already got virtual reality like arcades where you can go to. Like
Okay.
I've seen.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they have VR. They give you visors and a haptic vest and a gun, and it's like zombies or
Yeah.
combat or something.
How
So
How far away from? Sorry to interrupt you, but just the fact that you're talking about this, how far away from Ready Player One do you think we are? Having something like that. It's like fully immersive in this whole like world. And,
In my opinion,
yeah. You think it's possible? You think we could do it?
I do think it's possible.
And how far away do you think it is?
20 to 25 years.
Have you guys all seen or read Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Greg, no.
Will Wheaton narrates the audiobook, which is nice.
Oh, really? That's okay.
He's pretty good.
Makes a
He
lot of
has
sense.
Because
Such
look
a beautiful
at the
voice.
technology 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at it now.
I think the technology, the problem with adoption is the technology is not that comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, even the best that they've put out is still like a heavy thing on your head to play for more than like,
Yeah, that's
half an
right.
hour to an hour. You get
Yeah.
kind of sweaty. But if they could crack that, then I think we could get closer.
So, Greg, you were kind of looking puzzled. So let me break it down for you real quick. Ready Player One. Would you say it's a dystopian future? I mean, in a way.
I think
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So, like the Earth's become so populated that this kid, I call him a kid. He's probably like, what, 18, something like that.
About that.
Late
Yeah,
teens,
like
early
He's
20s.
he's in high school.
He's high
Yeah.
school. So he lives in a place they call the Stacks, and it's basically it's like a trailer park, but there's so many people they have to stack the trailers on top of each other like shipping containers, and he lives on like the 20th, like whatever, and they kind of have to do it that way. And most of the people, in order to escape this like kind of shitty reality, go into this place. What do they call it?
The Oasis.
The Oasis, and it's basically a VR like kind of video game, but it's like this whole world where everybody can interact, and like there's all kinds of different shit you can do. But it's very immersive. Like you got the gloves, you got the the running pad that keeps you in place, and the VR headset and all this shit. And that's why I asked, how far are we away from that?
So think about it. Like, we're seeing that now. That's what I was getting at with like the.
Yeah,
you were
sorry,
asking
I
about
didn't
the
mean to
arcade.
interrupt
No,
you, but
no,
it
that's
made
why
me
I
think
brought
of
it
that.
up.
Yeah.
We're literally where it's going. So I think
Yeah.
eventually what'll happen is it'll kind of come full circle where if you want to have we play paintball now, right? But if you want to
Sure.
have an immersive, almost as close to real combat experience you can have without dying, VR is going to be the way. So I see a bunch of people coming together and having
So fuck Duck Hunt. Grandpa's really gonna have PTSD when you hook him up to this VR.
That's the problem, dude. Because we've seen a lot of people use VR, and some people feel it more than others. Like,
Correct.
a lot
Yeah.
more. Let me give you an example. We're at the Science Center. I'm up on stage. I'm presenting to a small crowd, right? I'm going to go on next. This is the scenario. But someone's before me. So as the Science Center brings out a demo, we're going to play a VR game. And it's a game where, in the headset, you go up to the top of a building. You walk out on a plank, and you look down, and you're at the top of a skyscraper. And that's the game. It's supposed to, scare you. So this guy, an old man, goes on stage, puts the helmet on. We're watching this dude. He walks to the edge, and literally, in physical real life, falls and goes right through the glass divider and shatters the shit.
Oh no!
Luckily, it's like plexiglass. He didn't impale and cut himself in half, but everybody was totally shocked.
Right?
Yeah.
And everyone was silent for a second. And I was like, I want to go next.
yeah.
So some people, it's real. So the PTSD stuff, it gets funny, but
Yeah.
and so also there's one over at, you guys know where the Foundry is?
Yeah.
Over by IKEA. They have one of these things Rob's talking about over there, where you can do this and rent all the vests and stuff and have
Yeah.
an experience. And there's also one over in Telegraph Plaza. It's called
Okay.
STL VR. That's tucked in there,
Yeah, I haven't seen that over there.
randomly enough.
Wow.
But the VR stuff has so much potential. As a medium, it's so immersive when you get in there, and I heard somebody describe it well. They say you remember it like you were there. You play a
Yeah.
video game, you remember
That's
looking at your TV. But when you play
Yeah.
VR, you're like, I was standing.
And I was going to get
very
I
immersive.
was going to get the MetaQuest too, but it's like $1,500 or something, and I was
Jesus.
just like, nah.
Well, the 3's out and it's 400.
I'll tell you what. My
For real?
sister's
That's for
husband.
real.
My
I
sister's
was
husband
looking at it
has
like,
the VR
hmm.
set up.
Yeah.
And he's got the steering wheel and all that, and he's like, you gotta play this rally game, and put the VR headset on, and you got the steering wheel. You're sitting there but you're looking around, and you look over, and there's your co-pilot. Like you said, you're super immersed, and he's like, go for it. So, I mean, it was fun as shit, but
Man.
after the race, I had to take it. Dude, I gotta come back to reality, because once you're in, you don't see the real world. You're in the video game.
Jeez.
That was super It was super fun, but it's such a shock to me coming from Mario Brothers and stuff to that.
I showed
Yeah.
it to my my wife's grandma, and she at the time she was 88, and she
Yeah.
put the headset on and tried it out. She just didn't get it. She was like, what is happening? What am I looking at here? It just didn't compute. She didn't get it.
Remember I think it was Nintendo had the Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy. God, I wanted one so bad.
I wanted one so bad too, and it was like kind of like the headset, but it was on like a tripod.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think it like strapped to your head.
You had to like.
You had to like look in like a viewfinder, but it was red.
Nah, those viewfinders are awesome.
But the graphics were just red.
Yep.
It was like a Game Boy
okay.
kind of, but it was black screen with red, and you couldn't look at it for more than like 30 seconds before your eyes
so
like,
true.
you know,
Like, what am I doing to myself?
I remember they had it set up at like a Toys R Us or a KB or something like that back in the day.
Yeah.
I'd try it because I'm like Rob, I'm like, oh, I want one.
Yeah.
Like, so cool, like real graphics.
real graphics, and they're like playing tennis.
I tell you what, when you do VR and you're playing with other people in VR, it becomes another level too. Like a buddy of mine, we jumped in this thing called VR Chat. In VR Chat, you can like pick a body. I was Spider-Man, and he was somebody else. He was like Wolverine or something. You can literally pick a body.
Right.
So we pick these bodies, and we're walking around, and other people have these avatars too, and you can talk to them with just your voice talking to them, and you can hear them talking back to you.
Right.
So there's one little dude is running around, and I'm like, what the fuck? He's dressed as like this imp, basically. And we follow him, and we end up in a mini game. And the mini game is somebody is going to be the murderer, somebody's going to be the cop, and 3 people got to like try not to get murdered. And it starts and then zaps you into this place. And so I'm looking around off a staircase, and I'm looking down. I see that same little guy is running around with a knife. Now he's coming after me. I'm like, oh shit, this guy trying to get me. So I run and I hide behind a door, and I'm like in real life, kind of curled up, looking around the side of this door.
Yeah.
And he comes in, he starts talking shit. He's like, fuck you, and he starts stabbing me, and he kills me, right? So then the level resets, and so now I'm talking shit to this guy. But he's got a voice filter on, so his voice is like very octave high. This went on for about 3.5 hours, and I took the headset off, and it was like 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh my god, where did I go? Oh my god.
Jeez.
I just get lost in there. It's so immersive. It's almost scary immersive.
Where do we go from there? I mean, we went from 8-bit cartridges all the way up to like this shit that like you're talking about feels like real life. I mean, is there anything? Did we hit the ceiling?
But you know what?
on this?
Like when PlayStation came out, it's like, oh, where are they gonna go from here? You know, like
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
are we finally reaching that peak?
I got an idea.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
And I've been wanting to talk about this up to this point because I'm glad you brought up like virtual reality because I have an idea for a game. You were asking, where do we go from here? Okay, picture a family of 4.
okay,
Dad straps in, and he puts on a pair of augmented goggles. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And a HUD display pops up, and he can see. And he's in the family car, by the way.
okay,
Dad's in the family car. He puts on these goggles and all these players that he can see off in the distance with like icons, right? Mom gets in the car and she's like a gunner, right? She's got a VR headset on. So Dad's the only one wearing like a augmented reality vibe, right? Mom gets in. Mom gets in with a VR visor and a gun. Okay, that hooks up the Wi-Fi to the car. Okay, so you can play on like servers. So that links up to a server, right? Little Johnny and little Sally get in the car, and Johnny's like a medic, and then like Sally's probably like
engineer,
or an engineer, or like explosives or rocket launcher or something, right? And they take off, and they're going from here to Memphis, and they got a 4-hour drive. Well, as they're going down the highway, an enemy pops up, and in augmented reality, they could be sitting there shooting and duking it out.
Augmented reality. Now there's another platform coming.
Yeah, but their mom and the kids are in virtual reality.
So a simulated.
Yeah.
But
and then Mom goes across Dad as he's driving.
Yeah, possibly.
there's gonna be some shit there.
Yeah, okay, didn't think about that part.
He's trying to drive. Like, oh, shit.
Maybe Mom can't have a weapon.
Well, you are gonna run into that kind of stuff. I see what he's saying though, is because also like, oh, I gotta get this. Like, honey, speed up. Bitch, there's cars in front of me. Bishop's in the traffic.
Or something along that line. Right,
I get the idea, and I think that's
you could have self-driving cars.
So maybe that's your next step is not just a virtual simulated reality, but the augmented reality.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's coming out right now. Meta has released the version 3 of their headset, which is focused on VR, but also does AR. So you put that on, you're looking at a normal room, and all of a sudden graphics are showing up on top of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is going to lead to a whole nother level of experiences,
Yeah.
games in particular, but other stuff too, I think.
Yeah.
Like, just something simple you could do with that is, if you look at a wall, you can then take a template, we'll say you got a tree, you can then stick it to the wall in virtual space, grab a real-life paintbrush, and then trace over the top of that thing to make a mural. So it's going to add, like, another interesting layer on top of stuff. You could gamify it, you can do different things with it. But gonna get off topic if I continue talking.
You guys ever see the video where the dude walks in? I mean, it's like a skit, but the guy walks in on like one of his roommates in the one room. He's got the VR on, and he's like humping, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you gotta go check out what he's doing." He goes to the other room and tells his other roommate's bent over, like he's like, "Oh my god."
STDs have dropped 500%.
But yeah, I think that's where
That's our next step.
Yeah.
Where do we go after that? Do we? Are we reaching that
I don't
ceiling?
know, man. You might figure out how to make people go into like a sleep stasis.
Yeah.
Because, well, how realistic are dreams, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you could put people in that and like seed a story in there, man, you could have an experience.
So the
Nate-
Matrix.
And Matt, have you guys
Matrix.
ever seen the movie Existence
No,
No.
with Jude Law?
no.
It's kind of like that. So it's kind of on point where it's like this biomechanical like implant kind of thing,
That
but it's
sounds
almost
good.
like a living organism that you like tap into, and it's kind of like
Have you seen that?
Existence.
It'd be hilarious if Greg was the only one who had.
What's the game? There's
Let me look it up for you guys.
There's that
real quick.
movie that has what's the guy from 300? Gerard Butler,
Uh-huh.
where he's an inmate and he's being controlled by a kid, and they're like it's like a war thing, but it's all inmates that are like basically like the guinea pigs, and they're all fighting and actually dying, but they're
I
being
never saw that.
controlled by like kids and people and stuff.
Interesting.
It kind of sounds
And
a little
then
bit like,
and then there's like throughout the movie, like Gerard Butler like figures out that he's being controlled by this kid,
Okay.
and he's got like military experience, and he went to jail for something crazy, and then so he like gets the bug out, and he starts actually like taking control.
Okay, so here's this movie. Here's the spin down. Video game creator, video game designer Allegra Geller, Jennifer Jason Lee, has created a virtual reality game called Existence. After a crazed fan attempts to kill her, Allegra goes on the run with Ted, Jude Law, a young businessman who falls into the role of bodyguard. In an attempt to save her game, Allegra implants into Ted's body the video game pod that carries a damaged copy of Existence. Allegra and Ted engage in a series of experiences that blur the lines between fantasy and reality.
Interesting. I'll check it out. That sounds good.
there's something else about video games though, is that they continue to get bigger as
Yeah.
far as like production goes. Like, Jesus Christ, how much money they spend to make a game now, but they make that money back too. 300 million for a game, 150 million for a game. That's what's getting spent now,
Like-
and then they're making that back in like truckloads of cash.
Right. Like they're
So-
still working on.
Yeah, GTA 6.
It was supposed to
is-
drop,
Yeah.
and then they pushed it back again, and everybody's like, "What the fuck, dude? This is better." But then, like, when you see like I saw pictures of like the map that they're working on versus like the map of GTA 5, and like how much bigger that world's gonna be.
Just sit back and wait, man. Right?
Yeah,
it's
it's-
like
I mean, I haven't played a GTA game probably since like San Andreas, but still, just like knowing what goes into that, I'm like, damn, dude, like that's gonna be massive.
I'm looking at it like just get everything else out of the way right now. Just play all your other games, because when that drops, because GTA 5 is still being played like feverishly. It's one of the top
Right.
games on Twitch. People, thousands of viewers on it. So when 6 happens, I think people are just going to go ahead and move into that world and get cozy, and
Yeah.
that'd be the last thing they play for a while.
Is there a
Yeah.
I can't
is
wait
there a
for it.
video game like when you're just out and about and you just think of an older video game and you're like, God damn, I need to go back and play that game. And
Mario
what?
64.
I do a lot.
That one's
Because
pretty
like
fun.
there's a game on the original Xbox. It was called Jade Empire, and I played the living shit out of it. Love that game. And then like whenever I play other games, I just think about that game, and then literally like, I need to bring out the old Xbox and literally play that game.
You know what game
was Jade Empire? What was that basically like? Like, give me the
So it was
Jade Empire pitch.
So Jade Empire was basically like it was like martial arts. Like you create a character and you get to choose between like 3 different martial arts, their attributes like strength, speed, and all that stuff, and an actual a fighting style. And then basically the story is you basically get raised in this like this monk.
Get raised in a monk?
No, you get raised by monks basically, and they're all teaching them like how to defend themselves and fight and stuff. And the island that you're on gets attacked by the Jade Empire, like this empire who's going around and they're just killing people. And so you are technically destined to bring down the Jade Empire.
Okay. Is it like RPG or fighter?
sounds like RPG.
It's RPG.
RPG? Okay.
So it's funny that you
I
guys
missed that. I mean, that sounds good.
brought up Grand Theft Auto 6 because we really have to talk about Rockstar's
Yeah.
development because we can't.
Yeah, we did kind of skip over that.
We can't have this discussion without talking about Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I never played it.
Never
Oh
did.
man, with you loving westerns,
It's a
dude,
badass game.
I'm just not much of a gamer anymore.
Man,
you know? I mean, like,
still, with you
never
loving
really was, but still.
I used to be obsessed with the game Gun.
Gun is good.
On Xbox.
Mhm.
I was obsessed with that.
That's a good one.
And everybody says, well, if you like Gun, you should play Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
Red Dead's
well, Casey,
awesome.
Casey's question though, real quick. So you're talking about like a game that you think of like basically like what brings up like a nostalgia. Of, like,
Yeah, and makes you go back and want to play it.
I would say the one that comes to mind the most for me that's like pure nostalgia is Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ah,
I don't know if you guys ever played that. I had that on Sega Genesis, and that game was tight.
Didn't that
Yeah.
turn into later to be Plants vs Zombies?
No, I think that's a different thing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's a whole different bag.
Occasionally, I get sucked back into, not recently, but so I told you early on, I used to play these game called Muds where you connect to and they were
Yeah.
text-based adventures. That game, I started playing in like the early 90s. It's still online. And
Damn.
like every 4 or 5 years, I'll jump back in there and I see people that I knew from college and people I knew from high school still playing. And like I never see them in real life unless I go into this game.
Yeah.
So I go talk to them there. So not recently because I had kind of a falling out with the administrators of the game and all this kind of. Well, I don't go in recently. I haven't played in about 2 years, but I mean, if history's anything, I'll probably jump back in there another year or so. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally addictive. Kept going back to that one.
Greg said you said you do that all the time
What?
with games. You think it's something like you
Oh, yeah.
go back and
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I think I'm gonna try and get a PS1 and an NES just so I can play this.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Why not?
Like I want to play Twisted Metal so bad.
Yeah.
I just
But-
restarted.
Yeah, okay.
I just started playing on fucking my Game Boy SP and just replaying Blue and Red
Yeah.
and Yellow on
I feel
freaking
like
Game
Rob,
Boy.
I feel like Rob you probably do that a lot too, don't you? Like take the games and then go back and play. And...
I do. You know, and
Is Red Dead one of them?
Red Dead's one of them.
You've played it several times, right?
I've never beaten the story.
Of Red Dead 2?
Yeah, Red Dead 2. Now I beat the story on the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't beaten the.
So it's a whole
second
different character, right?
Yeah,
Because I haven't played either one. So.
Yeah, no. Arthur Morgan dies
Okay.
before,
Spoiler.
so it's like Well,
I'm
it's
just-
in the
I'm-
first
I'm-
game.
I'm fucking with you.
Arthur Morgan isn't alive
I'm kidding.
in the first game.
I've never played it either.
I haven't either.
Oh man, it's good.
The
Okay, so
second
it's
one's
that.
bad.
It's
It looks so
Fallout
awesome.
4, Nate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fallout 4.
Okay, and we're gonna talk about that in the next part. So there's that, but then there's like other ones. Okay, Sony. Okay, PlayStation.
Yeah.
Remember the game that you had where it was like a plane game, or it was like a plane, and you jumped out of a plane, and you had to go through like rings, and it was like everything related. You had to like fly planes through
Sounds
rings.
like Pilot Wings, man.
May have been Pilot Wings, and it was like you would
Maybe.
go. You'd have like it was everything you could think of, but in the air. So it was like you flew a plane through rings. You jumped.
Was it a Rockstar game?
No, it was on.
Oh, okay. I was curious because you mentioned Rockstar. So I didn't know.
Well, I did that,
The-
but you were asking me about like what nostalgia. What kind
Yeah,
of I had to
well,
go back
he
and
asked
play.
that,
Like
yeah.
it's
That's one.
Yeah, like games like that or Super Mario Brothers. The first
It
couple.
was like
levels.
so like when
Yeah,
you flew
of
through
course,
the rings,
yeah.
did your plane upgrade and stuff?
No, it was just like acrobatics
Acrobatics
kind of stuff.
Cool.
You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, it sounds like a game
No.
called Pilot
It's.
Wings.
I mean,
but
kind
I
of
think it
sounds
is. I think it is
familiar.
Pilot Wings.
Was it a computer game or what?
It was on. It was on
system?
PlayStation.
It was on PlayStation.
PS1.
So yeah. So there's that one.
I don't know. Well, let's leave it at this. Do you guys have a favorite video game, like one that you could just pick out above the rest that you're like, this one stands out to me and that's my favorite?
Snap.
Yes.
What is it?
BioShock.
BioShock. Oh, that makes sense for you. Yeah, you got like some BioShock
I mean,
art
there's-
behind
yeah,
you.
Ring of Fire.
Yeah, okay. BioShock. Anybody? Do you have one? I have one. Mine, Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
that's a good
such a
one.
great game.
I loved the classic Mario games. The second one, we talked about that. It's a whole different thing.
Right.
It was just a different game with a Mario skin. The third one, I think I love so much because it's like that's where they started to introduce some new like abilities. They had the Tanuki suit where you can fly and
Right.
shit, you know. And it's just like I don't know, maybe the graphics were a bit better and some of the worlds were a little different instead of just kind of repetitive. So, Super Mario Bros. 3 is gonna be mine. Do you have one?
God, that's such a hard fucking
Do you have
question.
one?
I got I always play Civilization
That's a good
Okay.
one. Too.
because that's my game, or SimCities. But
Yeah,
Oh, those are fun.
nice.
I like Age of Empires.
You know, we really didn't even
Age of
get into
Empires
those
was a
like
good one.
Age
the
of
like
Empires
Sim City and like Roller Coaster Tycoon and like
yeah.
all the like.
yeah,
Oh,
What about you?
Older
Nate?
PC games.
That's a tough one. I'll just say what I'm playing currently. Baldur's Gate 3. I've been playing tons of that. About 900 hours in, and I'd say also all time. I don't know. I played World of Warcraft for a long time. I really
Okay.
enjoyed that. I played that for like 5 years.
Hell yeah!
So I go with those.
Because I mean, I
What
used
about
to.
you? Superman 64.
I'm gonna probably say the one game that I could always go back to and just
Spyro the Dragon.
and just do different things
That's
was
Tori's favorite.
Fallout New Vegas.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's a good one
That's
too.
a good one.
Okay.
Because that one was like, it really hit.
Have you seen Fallout the series yet?
Oh, it's so
Oh my
good.
God.
That's what
Oh,
Brandon.
so good.
Brandon, we were literally
news,
just talking
man.
about
Okay.
this last night because
You
Brandon's like,
literally-
you fucking love Fallout, and you haven't seen the show. I
And
was
you
like,
just
dude,
mentioned Fallout New Vegas.
I've seen it.
That's where the second season's going.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
God damn it.
Dude,
Have
that's
you-
gonna be awesome.
And that's on
Have
Prime.
you watched that yet?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Prime. I'm gonna have to
You
start
did watch
watching
it
that
finally?
shit.
Yeah, I watched
Fallout?
like a few episodes. Well,
Because when we talked
A
about it
handful
last
of
time, you were
episodes.
like, you were supposed to watch the whole thing. You were like, I watched the first episode.
no, I've watched a few episodes.
Do you have now?
Don't get mad
Okay.
at me. I only watched episode
We'll talk about
one.
that in the next one. There is something I've been wanting to talk to you guys about, and specifically Nate. We were kind of talking about where does
we can go
gaming
home.
go? Where does the future of gaming go?
Yeah.
Imagine,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sitting here, I'm playing
Up your
Starfield, which is by the same people who do Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's by Bethesda, okay? Nate, this is more of a question for you. The morality and marketing and data stuff that comes from the choices that you make in games. So right now I'm playing Starfield. Starfield is free to play because with Game Pass, right? So I pay a subscription to it. My thing is how is it profitable for like Microsoft or even Bethesda? I guess they're owned by the same people now, but what I'm getting at is like the data that is taken. What kind of data are they collecting on me when I'm playing this game? And if they are collecting any data, how are they marketing back to me using that data? So, for example, Grand Theft Auto 6, where you can pick up a prostitute and beat her over the head with a baseball bat and get your money back, right?
True.
Do these is that kind of data tracked in games? And if it is,
So on Facebook, you start getting ads for baseball bats.
yeah, okay, that's a good one.
Therapy.
Yeah, like,
Every
Brawling.
single person who's
Heard you
meeting
like
a
rough
therapist.
concept.
or adult entertainment services.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I remember Call of Duty. One time I saw a statistic where it was like 2.5 billion bullets have been fired in the last month. They count everything.
Yeah.
So they know how many whatever prostitutes have been bludgeoned. They know how many levels you've completed. They know what achievements you get. And so all that information goes to making better games. They want to know how to serve people. And
Right.
so the more data they get, the more they can serve you. And so they're going to take as much data as they can get. Read your terms of service sometimes. It'll tell you what they're collecting, and it's usually vastly wide.
It I used to get very upset playing any Grand Theft Auto game and having like you go pick up a prostitute and it's like there's no hood on it's basically a convertible vehicle and they're just sitting there in each seat and just it's just moving back and forth. You're like, fucking do something.
Well, in Baldur's Gate, it's a giant joke. Like, you can see the statistics. They're like, 8.7 people have fucked the bear. What the hell? Like, so that goes on someone's report card somewhere. Like, you chose
that's what I'm...
to fuck this bear.
Like, do they know how many... does Rockstar know how many prostitutes have been beaten with a baseball bat?
Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
If your game is online, there's a good chance they collect.
But I think the question is, how seriously do they take that? Like, you're talking about, like, do they use that information to, like, market to you? Probably not.
I don't think not, too. Because it's
so?
like, like, when I play, like, GTA or, like, those kind of games, like, my character, I kind of make completely different from me. You know how, like, most people, you'll model your character off of yourself out? Because it's like, I'm going to be a completely different person.
Well, sometimes that's the point of video games, right?
Right.
Is it's an escape from reality.
It is.
Right.
It is.
So it's like when I'm playing a game, none of this is reflecting who I am.
So in Grand Theft Auto, are you, like,
You're beating the prostitutes.
beating the prostitutes to get your money back?
Yeah, who doesn't do that?
I mean, I did it once to see if I could do it in 5. I was like, because, you know,
Well,
from the old games, that was the whole thing of the old games. You know?
Right.
And then once I was like, oh, you can do that.
I wonder if there's a stat of how many times people would go into the fucking police department and get the fucking dildo out of the shower.
the
double-sided dildo.
That
was that was San Andreas, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like,
too.
okay, just for example, like,
People with it.
when me and Robert
Like there's a
built
stat.
games,
Oh,
right?
yep, we're up to 90 million people going to getting that double-sided dildo.
That was the best weapon.
Exactly. And you know the people demanded at that point,
Yeah.
right? So, like, when me and him were making games, I would know who went to different parts of the map. I could, like, watch that as an analytic. Now, I didn't know their names because I chose not to do that.
Yeah.
And that's usually how it works, is they'll anonymize that data a little bit if they're kind of more upstanding.
Yeah.
Not saying they all do that, but
Right.
yeah, so like they're watching. They want to know like what makes a good game. They're just trying to sell you games, man. It's usually not as like nefarious as it sounds.
Yeah.
They're trying to make better games, but
Right.
they'll collect as much information as they can. Just like social media services and stuff. It's very, very far reaching.
I mean, like some of these games that I'm playing, like Starfield and stuff, it's like there's an infinite way to play it, and it, depending on your choices and stuff like that, depends on how you play the game, and you can steal and rob and kill, and you know,
there's a
and I know it doesn't accurately reflect you as a person, but like if you have a tendency of being more violent in your video games than the average person, we could know this about you, or if you're, I thought,
yeah, you could do a little psychoanalysis of it, I guess.
Maybe. I think it's hard to do that though, because again, like you're gonna get a lot of people, like Greg said, he's gonna make decisions that are opposite of what he would do in real life.
Are you like the bad guy in like if you
I wouldn't say that. It's just
no, but he'll make his character the opposite of him.
Okay, like in the trucking simulator I play, like my character's a chick.
Yeah.
But my name is still
But you're not
Rusty
trans.
or whatever. No, but it's like so
not-
people will see
it's not
like
Candy Cane.
Look, I know
like the name. No,
Look, I know
it's still like my gamer tag.
I know that what I just said there, and I don't know if anybody heard me.
One more time.
I know that that's an extreme like thing I just said, but it illustrates my point of you have a character that's a female, but you're not trans in real life.
Right.
And again, I know that's I'm going to extreme, but it illustrates my point to you, Rob, that like just because he does that in a video game doesn't necessarily mean we know something about him.
Yeah, so see if
That's
that would be the case according to the trucking simulator game, like I'm a chick, so like
right.
they're sending me
So is it along the whole lines of do video games cause violence?
I'd say in some cases it prevents it. It's an outlet, right?
Right.
That's where I would go.
Yeah, because I mean we're talking about things that you play in a game. Does it adapt to your real life? And like how he said, like you were saying, he likes to be a chick in this trucking thing, but in real life, he's not trying to be fucking change his sexuality.
Right.
Right.
I'm just saying, I know that they've got to be collecting some kind of data.
Well, they definitely are.
Yeah.
And what is it?
Everything you do.
Do my choices in what? Okay, so what kind of choices that I make in game reflect about me and how I
Right.
could be marketed
And
to?
some of them might.
That's
Exactly.
That's like I'm curious to what that looks like if
Yeah.
they're doing it.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I mean, that kind of like falls more into like the open world games, right?
Yeah. So this is like because that's all I've been playing is like the
Because,
Starfields and Fallout 4. Okay, even with Rockstar games, Grand Theft Auto games.
Yeah. Because like me, I used to love like the older Final Fantasies, the roll action kind of stuff, and those are like dying out.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
I think I have at least somewhat of an answer for you, and I think it's less specific than what you're thinking.
Oh, it probably.
I'm gonna say not so much your in-game choices, but your choices of video games is what they're using to market to you.
Oh,
So in the
yeah.
digital age,
yeah,
now
okay.
they're not gonna be able to do that with the old school games. Like if he goes out and buys a PS1 and starts buying discs, they're not gonna know how to market to that.
Yeah.
You know. But in the digital age, you have a console where you're downloading stuff. If you're only downloading racing games, you're gonna start getting ads for car shit.
Yeah.
So like
If you're only downloading like you have Baldur's Gate and like other kind of like fantasy stuff, they're gonna be like, hey, check out this cool sword, this replica sword on
Yeah,
eBay. You'll
okay.
probably
Yeah.
like that shit.
damn,
Hey,
they got me.
hey,
Yeah.
here's a limited edition D20. You want that?
Hey, I heard you
know what
talking
I'm
to
saying?
It's like you're in my
it's-
head.
It's gonna be more so the types of
So
games
basically,
you
the
play
same
versus-
thing that fucking phones are doing.
Well, that's what I
it's the
said,
same
you
thing
know,
phones are
yeah.
doing.
That's
Yeah.
what I said when he was like, you know, are they doing that? Yeah, everything is collecting data on you and marketing.
Yeah,
to
because
you.
I was sitting there like, I mean, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is me and Jessica were talking about. I was like, I've never gone kayaking. The next morning, I had an ad on. Literally, just got on Amazon. Do you want to buy a kayak? I'm like, how the fuck did
Oh,
you know
man.
that?
Oh no, that's a real thing, and that's a whole different
Yeah.
conversation.
I think a lot of these games, they just want to know what you find fun. Like if 100 people, you know, go in the police station and grab the dildo, they're like, keep that bit because people keep playing it.
Yeah.
If Rob decides he's gonna murder these people, they're like judging you morally. It's a video game, but they want to know you found that fun and entertaining.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Because like, okay, I go back to, well, on a side note of in Call of Duty, back Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 or 2, you are a terrorist gang and you break into an airport and you mow down like everybody that you can. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember that?
I
It was
really haven't
and it
played the
made
Call
a
of
big
Duty
stink.
games.
It was like a little bit after 9/11.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I never
I'll
really,
look it up.
I would never really played the first person shooters and stuff like that.
Baldur's Gate's got some pretty sick choices in it. I mean, if they're trying to make a psychological profile of me, they're going to be confused. Because I'm all over the place. I'm a hero, I'm a murderer, paladin, I'm a rogue.
Yeah.
So they just know what I think is fun, I think.
Yeah.
Paladin.
Yeah, because I remember playing. I used to play the shit out of World of Warcraft, because you could literally just customize, and you had so many different like races and stuff like that. And that was such a great game.
I never played any of that stuff.
Some of
Never
that's
been a
changing
huge
too.
gamer.
Just bring that up briefly. Like, you used to go to GameStop to buy stuff.
Yeah.
You get a box.
Yep.
And you get CDs, and then you get launch days where you show up and you're like waiting for, I don't know, Frozen Throne or some shit in the parking lot.
Black Fridays, getting the fucking deals for World of Warcraft were amazing.
You remember running home and getting the installs going? You put the discs in. You're like, oh, soon I'm gonna be in there. Yeah, I'm getting chills thinking about this.
Nothing used to
Yeah,
piss my
so
grandparents off.
I looked
when
it
you
up.
had to upgrade your
It's in-
computer because
Oh,
it didn't have enough drive.
It's in Modern Warfare 2
Okay.
in 2009, the original.
Okay.
Okay, and it wasn't allowed in some countries because they didn't have video game or like game ratings and stuff.
Okay.
But it did say that that it was like not. It was extremely violent, and it said due to the graphic content featured in the level of no Russian, some international versions of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 were subject to censorship. Uncensored versions of the game were given a high content rating, such as M rating by the ESRB, but it's a Call of Duty game.
Do you?
but it made a big stink because it was it was 8 years after 9/11,
Okay.
and here you are a terrorist organization.
Do you remember the game Hitman?
Yes, and actually that is on the list of things that we're going to talk about next episode.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, no, there was another one that I'm thinking about then where it's like a bunch of escaped convicts and you are basically going around, and the title of I think it was Manhunt.
Yeah.
And you're literally just going around and killing and murdering inmates, and it was like banned from a lot of countries.
Yeah. So, anyway, you guys, is there anything else you want to add? I mean, I covered.
I wanted to mention one game for PlayStation called Blasto.
Why does that sound familiar?
And it was a cartoon. You were like a space dude out in like Saturn rings and whatever, just flying around space.
Yeah.
But the voice of that character was Phil Hartman.
That's why it sounds familiar to me.
That game was so fun, and it was kind of cheeky.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of a lot of the jokes were like above your head.
Yeah.
That's right here.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
I
seen
remember
that.
renting that game.
I never
And
played it.
Never played
It
that.
was so freaking fun because he was
$40.
kind of like Johnny Bravo.
Okay.
Yeah, he does kind of look
And,
like
like,
Johnny.
He'd say kind of like risque things to
Yeah.
like the lady aliens and stuff like that. Like,
Leisure Suit Larry. Do you remember that game?
yeah,
guys?
yeah,
I love Phil Hartman.
That's a great game.
R.I.P.,
I do too.
man.
right.
He was.
I think that was like one of the
console.
last
Summoning
things that he
computer
did
games.
there.
What console was
He was
Duke
one of the
Nukem
greats.
on?
Duke Nukem was on computer
Yeah,
first.
computer.
Yeah.
Oh, was it
And then
computer?
ended up on, I think, PS2.
Yeah.
But Duke
I thought
Nukem,
it was on.
had
I
Duke
thought it was
Nukem
on a
on-
PlayStation
Yeah.
console.
I used to play with my buddies over like the modem in Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
One of our things, we'd fill the map with pipe bombs, and then you just wait.
Yeah.
And you do one giant explosion and like lag the game out.
Yeah.
Good times.
And then there was another one for Nintendo. It was like Little Nemo's, like Dream World.
That's based
or
on
something.
that's based on an anime
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
or like a Studio Ghibli.
That game was so crazy, but it had like a really cool soundtrack. Like that sound is still, and there's certain songs that I can't think of the songs right now, but there's certain songs where I'm like, man, that reminds me of this, because it's just like bloom, 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 bloom,
that
bloom. Like,
one of the like really popular sounds on like TikTok and Reels and stuff, is it's like a remix of the like water level music from Donkey Kong Country,
okay, yeah,
and it's like they use it to like kind of like play on the nostalgia, like
right.
psychologically. Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country's supposed to have some of the best music. My buddy of mine's into music, and he's like, Donkey Kong?
That
Platinum.
yeah, we could fill a whole episode just with like
Video game
game
music.
soundtracks,
for sure, dude.
yeah, and like the scores of like
There's
certain
so many
games
games
and
going
shit.
through my head right now.
Yeah,
Like
man.
Parasite Eve.
Oh,
For PlayStation.
Parasite Eve. Oh
Yeah,
my god, I
okay.
haven't thought about that in 20 years. That's a great
Yeah.
one. Squaresoft.
All the old Splinter Cells. God.
Oh,
Splinter
man,
Cells,
yeah,
Splinter
Splinter
Cell.
Cell, dude. That
Jesus,
was
those are good.
shit.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear was good.
Metal Gear Solid for sure.
My very first computer game was the Call of Duty Spearhead. God, I used to play that all the fucking time.
Vigilante 8.
And then I
two.
remember re-downloading it and getting on the server, and because like the server you could have, there was like it was like up to 30 to 60 people, and I got on, there was like 4 people.
Oh man.
Like shit, I can't even play a match.
I remember getting the very first Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The first
That-
one that I remember is 3.
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah,
one.
I played, like, that was PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
It was Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, top-down view.
Yep.
Yep.
The
And
first two were like that, right?
There was
Yeah,
two,
first
and there
two.
was like a UK version.
Yeah. And then three
was-
changed
Three's
the
when-
game completely.
But that first one, I
Yep.
remember I got a cheat code for infinite
So-
ammo.
And that actually reminds me.
I couldn't
of-
finish the story because I had to pick up a rocket launcher.
Oh.
But I already had infinite ammo, so I couldn't pick it up. So I couldn't. I was never able to beat the game.
Oh,
You
man.
fucking cheat code.
We forgot to mention, and Nate, I think you're going to find this interesting, the game that changed video games forever.
What's up?
Doom.
God
Yeah.
damn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a fun one. I
And
used
the
to play
reason,
that
and
online.
Nate, can you get into the reason why Doom changed?
John Carmack's a genius. So is John Romero. That's why. Because these dudes figured out how to do 3D. Well, they made Wolfenstein first. It's like really where they figured that shit out. But Doom, they polished it. They created the most controversial, fun game ever. And then they made it so you could play against your friends.
Right.
And so you could have LAN parties with it. You could play 6 to 8 people. You could play a 1v1. Doom was just incredible at the time.
So I was watching a little bit on this, and they say that the code that they came up with was just like the simplest, most like elegant piece of code that allowed for first-person view.
John Carmack's a genius.
And that's what changed
That's all
video
there is to it,
games
man.
forever.
John Carmack is a big reason why the VR stuff at Facebook even went forward, because he worked for Facebook on VR shit. Same guy who made Doom. Did the VR stuff. Yeah, he left eventually. But yeah, I mean, that guy came up with so many of the fundamental things that made 3D games going forward.
So that's why you see 1 and 2, right, as top down. Fallout's like that. Fallout 1 and 2 are from top down.
Yeah.
And then Fallout 3 came out a number of years after, because I think that was on PlayStation? The first one? Was it on 2? I think it was on 2. So yeah, we can't have the evolution without talking about, because how important that is, right? Like,
the one thing that's funny about that is that guy John Carmack. They got a book. It's called Masters of Doom, also narrated by Will Wheaton, and so it tells the whole story. But one quote that's funny about that is he started a rocket company later called Armadillo. And this was in the early SpaceX days. So he was sending rockets into orbit. I asked him, what's it take to be a rocket scientist? He's like, it's not as hard as coding video games. It's like, jeez, okay. So games are, they're a huge production. We're lucky to get them.
it's crazy to see like the credits on a video game, how many people are involved.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands and thousands of people involved in one game.
It's crazy. I sat through Baldur's Gate. It took about 15 minutes.
Really?
I was trying to be respectful, but I was like, damn, I need a drink or something.
I was gonna say because
take a pee.
I was just playing I was just playing my Game Boy the other day, and I beat the Elite Four on Pokemon, and then so it's like the end credits. So before you can continue, you basically just set it down and wait 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it just goes through the list of all the fucking people that were in it.
That's amazing.
Well, unless we don't have anything else to add, gentlemen, this has been an amazing
we could go on
episode.
and
We could talk all day about this. I'm really interested in the next episode though, because we're gonna basically talk about everything we just talked about in today's episode being adapted into a movie.
We'll bring that up. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit.
Hey, we're not lost on that. We gotta
We can't forget about Mortal Kombat.
Oh, for sure.
That's gonna be part of
yeah.
it, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So we will see you guys next week for the adaptation of video games.
Tupac lives.
Whoop whoop.